How you doing? How you been? Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the channel. My name is James, and if you clicked on this video, you are probably interested in paganism. You're trying maybe to find your own pagan path, or you're just kind of interested in my experience and me finding my pagan path. So this might be a little bit of a longer video, but I kind of want to start at the very beginning and work my way up. So I've been a pagan for about 25 years. I didn't really call myself a pagan because I grew up in a very small town in Southwest Georgia. And back then, this is probably like 94, 93, somewhere around there. We didn't know what paganism was. We knew that you were either Christian or you're an atheist. We didn't really have an in-between. Or sometimes we would say, we believe in a higher power. And that was my situation. I believed in a higher power. I tried to go to churches when I was a little kid, or even like in middle school. They just didn't really sit right with me. And I didn't believe a lot of the stuff that was being taught. It didn't connect with me. So I did, however, feel like there was something greater beyond me. And I do believe in ghosts and everything like that. So I knew there was something out there. I just didn't feel that it was the Christian God. But of course, living in a very small Christian town, you can't really tell anybody that because you don't want to get laughed at or outcast or anything like that. So it was kind of difficult being a non-Christian in a very small, very religious town, which is still a very religious town. That whole area, we call that the Bible Belt. Well, once I was in high school, I learned the term agnostic. So at least I had a name to put with it. I was agnostic. I prayed, but I didn't pray to the God. I prayed to a God. I didn't know who it was. But I just prayed to a God for health, or if I was going through something stressful, I would pray for relief. So I was practicing paganism. I just didn't know what it was. And you have to remember, this is pre-internet, so we didn't really have a way of looking it up. I wouldn't even know where to start. So I didn't have a whole lot to go on. Then in my late teens, once we had the internet, I found sort of like the New Age movement. I was able to look some things up on the internet, but I still hadn't heard the term pagan yet. I did hear about Wicca and witchcraft, and I thought it was really cool. So I started doing some research into occultism on the internet. And then probably right around the time I was about 18 or 19, I had moved from Southwest Georgia to Middle Georgia to live with my mom. My parents weren't separated or anything. They were building a house up there. And so my mom stayed and made sure that the house got built correctly. There's a whole long story. Maybe I'll go into that one day. But I went up there to go to school for a couple semesters while my dad stayed back in our hometown. And he'd come up and visit every weekend. So anyway, that's a whole different story. But while I was up there, there's a very small local bookstore, and I went and checked it out one day, and I saw they had a New Age section. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I saw some books on Wicca and witchcraft. So I picked up a few books, started reading them, got really interested in it. And so for a few years, I became a practicing Wiccan. The issue I had with that, though, was a lot of Wicca, and what I read about Wicca, it's very coven-based. And again, in South Georgia, or even in the South, you don't do that out in the open. So there's no way to find a coven, and there's no way to reach out to anybody. And I didn't really, still at this point, the internet was still in its infancy. So there weren't like forums where you can go and just find local groups. So I kind of realized maybe that wasn't really for me, because I'm a solitary person. I don't like being in groups. I have social anxiety really bad, which I'm actually working on now. But again, that's a whole nother story as well. So Wicca didn't really fit with me, and I didn't know what else there was. So I just kind of went back to describing myself as agnostic. And right around that time, when I stopped practicing Wicca, I think I was about like maybe 23, 24. I met a girl and we dated for a little while, probably about 4 years, I think, somewhere around there. But she was very Christian. She was into all that. And the last couple of years of our relationship, she wanted to go to church. So we found like a non-denominational church that one of her friends went to, and I did that. And I really tried to like it. I gave it the college go. I just didn't feel like it was for me. So I just kind of pretended the entire time that I was having a good time. Especially when like people stood up and they started singing and they were raising their hands, and like I just felt super awkward and super uncomfortable. I felt like I didn't belong there. And so finally, it was not that great of a relationship either. Finally, I ended that relationship and I could go back to being my lovely agnostic self. And so after that, I actually started to do some like real research on different religions. I looked into Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, just to kind of see what was out there. And I still at this time, I don't know how I missed it. I still didn't find paganism. But I found a lot of the religions under that pagan umbrella. I found a lot of specific books on those things. And so I kind of just started piecing together some things. I take some stuff from a couple gods here, take some stuff from some gods here, and kind of put that in my own little practice. And doing that, I was sort of becoming this eclectic pagan. And I still think it didn't really, like I was still missing something, you know what I mean? So in recent years, within like the past, 5 or 6 years, I started to really sort of try to find a focus. And I had finally narrowed it down to two paths, Norse paganism and Celtic paganism. And I think the reason why I was looking at Norse paganism is because it's kind of the trendy thing right now. I know it sounds bad of me to say, but it really is. It's kind of like the trendy thing. Vikings are cool. I dig Vikings. I like the show. But none of those gods were really calling to me. And then on the eclectic side, or the Celtic side, almost my entire family on my paternal side and my maternal side come from Scotland. So I can actually trace my ancestors all the way back to where they originally were from, and the first of my last name to the village he lived in. I don't know, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Sorry. Darnock or Dornoch, Scotland, is where the first of my family originated from. He had changed his last name. He was originally part of Clan Oliphant. And then they split up. They became Dagask, and then he had changed his name from there. So I can trace all that stuff back. And so the Celtic paganism really spoke to me. And so I talked to a spiritual advisor, and I told him, I said, I'm kind of really starting to take my pagan practice very seriously. But I'm kind of on the fence of where to go. And after he did my reading and consulted with his spirit guides, they determined that Celtic paganism was where I was meant to be. And they even found a strong connection to me and the triple goddess. And in the Celtic tradition, the triple goddess one of the triple goddesses is Brigid. She's one of the main triple goddesses. And so I started working with Brigid. She is my matron deity. This is my altar dedicated to her. I have done some guided meditations to speak with her, to connect with her, and I've been working with her for a little while now. And it took many years for me to end up here, and I'm glad I did. The thing that I'm still struggling with, though, and recently has gotten better, is being in the proverbial broom closet, if you will. I recently came out of the broom closet with my wife, which was a completely accidental thing. And I'm actually going to do the next video I do is going to be about coming out of the broom closet with my wife. But nobody else in my family knows that I've been pagan. My wife, we've been married for 7 years now, or been together for 7 years. Never had a clue. I never told anyone. My first wife never knew, because growing up in that situation of being in a very religious community, you learn not to say a whole lot, because you don't want to get made fun of. You don't want to get called out. You don't want to be ridiculed. So you just kind of keep all that stuff in. Of course, there are online communities where I can go and chat with other pagans and learn that way. But as far as making any real connections, it just wasn't going to happen. So here, now that we're living in South Florida, we've actually recently found a pagan community that we've been associating with, and that's been really cool. And I'll talk a little bit about that in another video. But yeah, that was kind of my sort of journey to paganism, and it took a really long time. So if you are somebody who is interested in paganism, or you're trying to find your way and you feel lost, just know that it's okay. It's okay to feel lost. You will find your way. It will happen. Sometimes you just can't force these things. Things just have to line up. And the deities will make that happen for you. Things will eventually line up. They'll show you where you need to be looking. The best thing that I could do, or the best advice that I could give you, is to start meditating, and look up guided meditations on YouTube, and do some guided meditation work. And that'll be a good way to connect with your deities, or connect with your spirit guides, and figure out what path you should be on. I didn't have any of that growing up. I didn't know anything about meditation or spirit guides or anything like that. I had to figure all this stuff out on my own. And when you don't have those tools, it's very hard to listen to those guides that are trying to point you in the right direction. So it will happen. You will figure it out. It might take a little while, but it will happen. Don't give up. Be diligent, and hopefully you find your pagan path soon. And if you have, let me know down in the comments if you had sort of a similar experience, or if you just want to share your pagan journey and how you found paganism. I'm interested to know what you have to say. So please leave a comment down below, and I will be sure to check that out. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. I don't know how many people are actually going to watch this video. But if you are here, thank you so very much. If you would like to connect with me on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, I am It's Oddly James. And if you would like to hang out with me live on Twitch, I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I do RPGs, horror games, a little bit of everything. I am over at twitch.tv/It's Oddly James. And until next time, stay well, stay odd.